facility, immense. The job at hand, even bigger. It's pole day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 2010 500. Cars are lined up for qualifying and a chance to compete in the greatest spectacle in racing. There's a brand new format this year, which puts even more pressure, more stress on the world's fastest drivers. There will be 2 segments of qualifying. First, to establish the fastest 24, and then the pole shootout between 4:30 and 6 o'clock Eastern time for the top 9 that will determine the pole sitter for this year's 500-mile race. Cars are ready, the fans are ready, we're ready. It's time now to turn them loose. We go down to Brian Barnhart, the president of competition for the IZOD IndyCar Series, and his instructions to A.J. Foyt IV.
All right, Anthony, you're going to be our first one here today, going right up on the racetrack. AJ will be at the north end. Green flag will be second time by. 4 laps to completion. Be the first attempt in the car. If you take the green flag, you get 3 attempts today on it. You got the same track you just had this morning. You know what you got. Go give me 4 good ones. Let's put her in here, buddy. Ready when you are, O.
And now the engine fires on the car that will be driven by A.J. Foyt IV, owned by his grandfather, the 4-time Indy 500 winner, A.J. Foyt. The sponsorship is ABC, and away he goes. Our first qualifier today on what was supposed to be a very hot day, but it's only 73 degrees and cloudy at the moment. There are new qualifying rules this year, and here they are. It's going to be a full day of activity. The first 24 positions will be established between now and 4 o'clock with 3 attempts per car. At 4 o'clock, the track closes and will reopen at 4:30 until 6 o'clock. And at that time, the top 9 cars must requalify, and we will determine the pole sitter in that session. The pole sitter will receive $175,000, $100,000 from Peak and $75,000 from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And very importantly, they will receive points this year. We also will be on tomorrow for Bump Day. That begins at 12 o'clock noon. Positions 25 through 33 will be filled at that time. Now, this first segment here that will determine the top 24 starters, there will be no sandbagging during this session, guys, because a very important thing there is what you see, pit selection, because the pit selection for the 500-mile race will be determined by the speed you turn in the first segment between now and 4 o'clock.
You're right, and very important. So that 1 through 24, that's going to determine the quickest car right there is going to determine that. And there's the green flag for Anthony Foyt.
And Bob, you mentioned the temperatures. The forecast, as you said, war for much higher temperatures. So someone like A.J. Foyt IV, who got the first pick in the draw, this is a great advantage if the sun were to come out. Right now, these are ideal conditions for speed.
And what's also ideal is to be the first one out is they just finished up on track an hour ago. So the conditions are very similar to when you were practicing this morning versus going out at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Foyt's best speed of the month was turned in earlier today at 225.055 miles an hour, and his first lap is 224.112. Boy, there's just all kinds of question marks, all kinds of decisions that will have to be made in the next 5 hours. Going to be incredible.
I'd be pretty happy with the 224.1.
Yeah.
You know, that's going to get you, I think, into that top 24 barrier as we kind of project as the day goes along. Anthony hasn't been in the car since Texas last year. I asked him, you know, how's it feel? You know, he's kind of quiet, soft-spoken in that Texas drawl that he has. He's like, no big deal.
Over the winter, he married the daughter of Jim Irsay, the owner of the Indianapolis Colts. As a matter of fact, A.J. Foyt IV is now listed as a scout for the Colts. And the second lap is just a tick of the watch slower at 224.041.
Whoa! That's a little bit of oil dust, oil sweep that they put down. Takuma Sato had a big crash earlier this morning in turn number 2, and the reason you see dust, no one else has been up there.
And he's using
the practice.
And coming through 3 there, he's using all the track. And it's one thing to let the car have its head and let it run free, but not so free where it's drifting right up to the wall like that.
Third lap for A.J. Foyt, the fourth, 2:23.767. Foyt is being helped this year by Owen Snyder, who was the chief mechanic for the win that Al Unser Jr. had in 1992 and Eddie Cheever's win in 1998.
And Robbie, you mentioned 224 is about the area you want to be to make the top 24. I think that's right on the edge. So as he's drifting now into 223s, they could be slightly nervous that it could take another attempt to be sure you're solidly in that top 24.
Oh, I think he's okay. The average speed of it is going to be fine.
Checkered flag for Foyt, and lap number 4 is 223.798, a little bit quicker than the third lap. There is Grandpa Foyt. 223.929 is the average speed for our first qualifier, A.J. Foyt the fourth. Jack Arute is in our Izod Pit Performance Center.
And guys, historically, the Indy 500 qualifications has really been mentally tough. But with this new qualifying format, it's doubly mentally tough. Here's what I want to try and have you think about. How tough is it mentally for a driver with a car that is balanced but is not a lot of downforce? Take an apple and try to balance it on the edge of a knife and do that for 3 minutes. I've been unable to do it so far. Lindy Thaxton is standing by with more on pole day.
Jack, he's a 3-time pole sitter, a 3-time winner in car number 3, but he wants some 4s starting today. Helio Castroneves was fastest on Fast Friday, but his fast lap was just 1 lap. He said he could not hold it for 3 more. He said it's just so challenging pushing that hard. We'll see what he can do today, but Robbie, bottom line, car's good, and he feels good.
And we're used to seeing ladies at the Indianapolis 500. Danica Patrick, Sarah Fisher, Milka Duno, but we also have something special this year, an unprecedented 5 ladies trying to make it to the Indianapolis 500. Anna Beatriz, Simona Di Silvestro. Anna Beatriz, of course, the first lady to ever win a Firestone Indy Lights victory back in 2008 at Nashville. And you have Simona Di Silvestro, who's impressed everyone in the series so far this year. She actually has experience here at Indy, not on the oval, but on the road course. She performed in the Formula BMW series. She actually podiumed in that series, so she has experience here as well, but not on the oval, Bob Jenkins.
Thank you, Robbie. And the second car out to qualify is Paul Tracy. However, he is going to come in without taking the green flag so that there is not a attempt charge against that car. You have to take the green flag to get an attempt. And there's Barry Green, with whom he has been reunited. Tracy and Green were, of course, together when Paul thinks he won the Indianapolis 500 back in 2002.
And the fact they didn't even make an attempt and get up to speed, they're not just posturing. They were planning to go out there and roll that down. So something definitely happened.
You could tell by Barry Green's body language that that was not what they wanted. It wasn't like they were just rolling out trying some kind of strategy. They wanted to take advantage of that early pick, and obviously something has gone amiss.
So we'll check on what exactly happened to Paul Tracy. Welcome to pole day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're going to be wide open all day.
We can break out!
The Indianapolis 500, an American tradition with over a century of pursuits. 33 cars running wide open at over 200 miles an hour. A 500-mile chase toward racing immortality.
Little Al wins by just a few tenths of a second.
It's pole day at the Brickyard, where fractions of seconds can last an eternity. And emotions rev high for drivers trying to become an early Indy favorite.
Helio is on the pole.
Last year, Helio Castroneves won the Indy 500 from the pole.
You guys don't understand.
Can he recapture the same magic this month and join Foyt, Unser, and Mears as the only drivers with 4 victories? Danica Patrick has authored exciting moments here in search of her lifelong dream. This year, she's one of 5 women trying to make the field. 2 sons will drive for fathers. Marco Andretti trying to win the race that amazingly escaped his father Michael's grasp.
Can a teenager win in Indianapolis?
And Graham Rahal, who will be racing for his father Bobby for the first time. Some moments will never fade, especially for two teammates, Scott Dixon and Dario Franchitti, longing for their second victory here.
Tune up the bagpipes.
Today, all that matters is high speed and fast times. Drivers must run wide open to become pole sitter for the 2010 Indianapolis 500.
We're gonna run wide open today. Come on.
Talked about the 5 women trying to make the field for this year's 500, and here's one of them on her official qualification run. This is Anna Beatriz driving from the Dreyer and Reinbold stable this year. Anna has 3 laps in the high 223s. She is coming down for the checkered flag. Right now she is averaging 223.769. Here's the checkered flag. Anna Beatriz is qualified for the moment for her first 500-mile race, and the 4th lap is 223.817. Average 223.781 miles an hour. When we went to break, Paul Tracy had gone onto the track but came back in without taking a flag. Something wrong with the car, Lindy?
Paul, what happened out there?
Well, we're a little bit confused as to what happened. We're going to go back, take a look at it. It's just got, when I shifted into my top gear to start the lap, it got stuck in between 2 gears and was in neutral. So, we wanted to put a time in right away. The conditions right now are better than what it's going to be later, and just disappointed.
Thank you, Paul.
Settle in, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot of coverage for you this afternoon. We will be on until 6:30 Eastern Time tonight with all the runs for Pole Day 2010. I'm Bob Jenkins with Robbie Buell and Jan Beekes. And before we went on the air, Robbie Buell was sitting in his chair and he says, my stomach is rumbling. And he says, I wish I were just a driver. Not to take anything away from a driver, but it's tense for everybody today, Robbie.
And it is. And what these drivers are going through, of the 17 events that we have in the IZOD IndyCar Series, this is the most intense day right here, qualifying. You would think it'd be for payday, the Indy 500 race day. It's not race day. At race day, you have downforce in the car. You got predictability. Today, these drivers are searching for that speed that maybe they've never even been there before. So they're trying things to get that extra little bit out of the car. So that pressure, that emotion, there's nothing bigger, nothing greater. The flip side of it, once you get in and get it done, there's nothing more satisfying as well.
And Robbie, when you think about the format, think about that Brian Barnhart said that he expected you could qualify 12 cars per hour. So you do the math there. That's 3 hours of qualifying if there isn't a problem, but each car gets 3 attempts. So the potential, especially if you have cloud cover and it doesn't get hot like Paul Tracy just said, we could have non-stop qualifying from now until 4 o'clock, just trying to make that top 24.
Absolutely.
Just putting that intensity and pressure back on the drivers for each one of those opportunities.
Here is the driver who has been the fastest all month, and he set that earlier today at 227.646. This is Will Power from Verizon Team Penske, who is the points leader in the IZOD IndyCar Series heading into the 500. And the first lap is 226.003, so down about 1.5 miles an hour from his best, but we are under qualifying conditions.
His time this morning was definitely with some help. He had a draft. There have been some people that have run this quickly without a tow, but this is certainly an indicator that the track conditions right now, we're going to see some big speed.
Oh, we're going to see some big speeds, but remember, the whole game here at the 500 is guys going out and getting drafts and tows. You never really know what you have until you are one car out on this racetrack by yourself. Even when there's 2 other cars on the other side of the track, from the front straight to the back straight, it's still circulating the air around this place.
And besides that, during the practice, and practice opened for the 500 a week ago today, you don't know who's working on race day setup and who's working on a qualifying setup. Now, the good lap for Will Power, lap number 1, was backed up on lap number 2 just a little bit faster at 226.081.
What you want to watch here, Bob, is if he can go yet faster slightly on lap number 3, because typically 3 and 4 are the toughest to do. The car is the best in lap 1 and 2, and if you can keep your speed up in 3 and 4, it makes a big difference on the average.
And the big reason for that, of lap 3 and 4 being the tougher ones, is when the Firestone tires are brand new, those first couple laps, there's just a little extra grip in them, and as you go through the run, you just lose a little grip, and the balance changes in the race car, and that's where it's difficult to maintain those get towards the end of the run.
Now in the box there, you will see P1. There will be no provisional pole sitter until we get to the second segment between 4:30 and 6. So that will tell you, however, that he is the fastest among the drivers that have qualified in segment number 1. Here's the checkered flag.
He looks like he's lost just a little on lap 4.
It was 2:25. You're right, .861. The 4-lap average is 2:25.994, and he is P1 at the moment. Will Power from Toowoomba, Australia. Down to Jackaroo.
Down here in the Eyes Out Performance Pit Center, one of the things that we've done as Alex Tagliani goes out on the racetrack is we've tried to analyze what we call non-tow laps. And only looking at the non-tow laps that were 4 consecutive, we've looked at the best times. Let's take a look at Alex Tagliani. Until today, his average was 223.658 for 4 consecutive laps. Remember, in this early practice session, he stitched together 3 consecutive laps that were over 226. Guys, watch this qualifying run. Tagliani might have found some speed.
Well, Jackaroo last night in our show yesterday afternoon predicted that this would indeed be the pole sitter for the 500. Alex Tagliani last year, well, it was a miserable year for him, at least in qualifying. He was qualified for the race and thought everything was okay, but then got bumped by John Andretti in the late going.
And he's either going to get you or not. You're not going to have time. That's it, boys.
We were 26 on the grid, and we felt that we would be okay. We missed it. What can I say?
He did, however, run in the 500 last year because he replaced his teammate Bruno Junqueira in the machine. Alex Tagliani was in Methodist Hospital just 2 days before the track opened for practice this year with bronchitis, but he is 100% recuperated, and he's been very, very fast in the practice this month.
Ever since they rolled that car off the truck, they've been fast. I talked to his crew chief. He's like, you know, we really haven't made any changes to the car, anything drastic since they rolled it off. They just go out every day, do some laps, and when they roll off their second, third time by, absolutely fast.
Alex gained 22 positions on race day last year and ended up 11th, and that earned him Rookie of the Year honors here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. How's he doing, Jan?
He's got some great split times. This is the kind of start that Alex Tagliani wants. You saw a few sparks underneath the car. Those should go away when the pressures and temperatures come up. A great start. The ruler says he's P1.
Yeah, 226.640. Taking the short way around, Robbie.
Wow. And the reason he can take the short way around, and you don't see him get all the way up to the wall like we saw Foyt there, is the car's turning. The car's really turning well in the middle portion of the corner. He doesn't need to use that track. It's really driving off that right rear.
And you see Will Power's look? It's like, yeah, well, it was good while it lasted.
Yeah, really.
It's okay.
The game's begun to try and posture for being in that top 9 for the shootout for the pole later today.
Lap number 2 complete. 2 of 4 for Alex Tagliani, and lap number 2 is 226.391, just a little bit slower. This will only be his second start, of course, here in Indianapolis. Started 33rd last year and has been very, very fast this month.
This is, I think, the money. The next 2 laps, we've mentioned that a couple of times, when you start off and you have your fastest and you start to slip, that's where you really earn your money. When Jack is talking about putting that apple on the edge of that knife, the second 2 laps, trying to see, do you have to change something in the car? Do you have to change your line? So, keeping that up is tough.
So what you're saying, if Jack needs to be mimicking what Alex is doing right now, he's got that apple right on that knife, right as Alex going through turn 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Still just a little bit slower, but still well above 226. 226.322 was his last lap. He's averaging 226.4. This team co-owned by actor Jason Priestley.
I don't think there's any question that these kind of speeds are going to guarantee you being into that top 9. No question about it. I mean, that's...
We're starting off agreeing on that one, Robbie. That's a good start.
It sure
Okay,
is.
well, we got 6.5 hours left.
Well, I still don't agree with your time of getting the top 24, but we'll pick that up later.
Checkered flag. Tagliani's fourth lap, 226.215. The average is 226.392, and he is P1 at the moment. So we have had 4 qualify: Tagliani, Will Power, AJ Foyt the fourth, and Anna Beatriz. It's pole day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Stay with us all afternoon on Versus.
Qualifying for the 2010 Indianapolis 500 on Versus is brought to you by Apex Brazil. To learn more about our Brazilian goods and services, log on to experienceourenergy.com. And by iZod, the official apparel sponsor of the iZod IndyCar Series, available at Macy's. And by Peak Performance Products. When you peak, you win.
Marco Andretti just completed his first lap of qualifying at a speed of 224.577 miles an hour. Will Power was P1 for a while. He's now P2, and he's with Robbie.
Will Power, were you pleased with that run?
No, simple answer, but yeah, I hit the downshift accidentally on the first lap, but my arm slipped off the bar and anti-roll bar to readjust, and that, it still wasn't quick enough anyway.
Talking, that happened on the first lap. You were talking to your engineers, right?
Yeah, happened on the first lap, and then I grabbed the wrong bar, adjusted the car the wrong way. So, yeah, it's, you know, I think we need to find speed anyway.
Disappointment out of Will Power, Lindy.
Well, not here with Alex Tagliani. In fact, he said, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this is a good car. What else can you say, though?
Nothing. Just amazing job from the engineer staff at Fast Race Team, Alan McDonald, Alex Timmermans, Brandon Cleve, I mean, Robert Gouet. It's just like an amazing job. And the boys in the team just, you know, fine-tuning this car every single day. I mean, we've been fast, and they could have left the garage, you know, any time. But they just keep, you know, tuning it, and it's what we are here right now.
Thank you, Alex. And it seemed like the car was so stable for him. He could have a pretty short track out there. And Bob, last night, he even wrote his crew a thank you note for the car they gave him.
Well, it's performed well, and so has Tags. And the laps for Marco Andretti keep going up in speed. He was at 224.577, then 224.587, and 224.650, and he's a half a lap away from the checkered flag.
Obviously showing that car's really got some great adjustability, just whether he's doing a little bit of wake jacker. We heard Will talk about when he hit the bars and then he went for the wrong one. Well, Marco's doing a great job of staying ahead of his car to go faster. As Jan said earlier, those last 2 laps of 3 and 4, that's the tough one to maintain the speed.
Unless your car is too planted and it's easier.
Yeah.
It's harder to stay on the edge when you're faster. It's not as hard when you're slower. And I'm sure he would rather have the speed and lose a little than be consistent all the way through.
Fourth lap was as slow as 224.485. The average is 224.575 for Marco Andretti. He is P3 at the moment. And next out to qualify will be the defending champion of the Indianapolis 500, Helio Castroneves. He will be next on the racetrack. Pressure on for qualifying also with Helio Castroneves. That looks like Scott Dixon will be next after Helio Castroneves.
Helio Castroneves, São Paulo, Brazil, Team Penske. You know, going for a Indy 500, you have Rick Mears always says you have 2 types of races. First one is for qualifying and one the actual race. The reason that he says qualifying, it's so difficult because you have 4 laps. But remember, 4 laps in the above 220 miles an hour is the most difficult thing because you gotta hit the marks every time on the same spot. And when you're going for the first lap, the second lap, the tires start going away. The third lap, the weather starts changing. The fourth lap, you put everything together, and now you're going for the limit that the car can handle. So it's one of the toughest, hardest place to qualify. But when you succeed, it's the best, it's the greatest joy.
The green flag comes out. Helio Castroneves looking for his 4th victory a week from tomorrow in the 500-mile races on his qualifying run.
Didn't he just summed it up perfectly.
Yeah.
The intensity, the pressure, and how it changes from corner to corner, lap to lap, and you just never know quite what you have, and you got to keep challenging the race car. But when it's done, and it's done the way you wanted, there is nothing more satisfying with all the effort.
And he just did 2:31.1 turning into turn number 1.
And not lifting.
First lap about to be completed for Elio. Let's see what it is. It is 226.563. 226.5, Jack.
And boy, based upon that, guys, he is going much faster than he did in his best 4 consecutive non-tow laps. His first lap in his best was 225.977. His average total was 226.010. I think he's on a flyer, fellas.
Yes, and we should point out, look on the upper right of the screen, that red right now, 0.027, will change either from red or to green. Red meaning that he's short of where Tagliani is, and you can see that gap is coming down. Just fractionally slower than what Tagliani has at that point in his run.
226.396, just a little slower.
Look at that, 004. It's like that thing's going to turn green soon. Oh, slipped a little. It shows you it's just thousandths of a second in every corner.
And every corner is different, just a little different precision, precise. And again, he's tuning that car to get the most out of it with what he can in the cockpit.
He got up to 231.3 that time in the trap speed. You're turning the wheel into turn 1 at over 231 miles an hour. Wow, that's
no thanks.
and hoping you come out in the right place.
Yeah, really. There's Tags on the right. He's P1 at the moment. Third lap for Elio, 226.309. Still a little bit slower, but very consistent. And speaking of consistent, Marco Andretti's run is the most consistent today so far. He varied 294 10,000ths of a second from his fastest to slowest.
And remember how important this is with these times that are being posted. This is what's going to determine what you pick for your pits. Yep. It's not going to be in the pole shootout. It's going to be the fastest of the top 24 gets the first choice of pits, which is crucial here.
Very much so for race day. Here's the checkered flag for Elio Castroneves. And he has completed his first qualifying run. It's at 226.285. Again, every lap was down a little bit. The average is 226.388. He is P2 at the moment, next to Alex Tagliani.
And I would have to say that would be Alex's biggest worry. And if you see Castroneves not beat you, you're thinking, I'm looking good.
Scott Dixon will be the next out to qualify. Robbie Floyd.
I'm with Marco Andretti, who you said was the most consistent out there, but not consistently the speed you were looking for.
Yeah, it's easy to be consistent at those speeds, but no, to be honest, we were hanging on to the thing. I mean, end to end, I was all over the cockpit tools, just trying to bring the balance in. We were really loose on the run for some reason, but you know, I doubt you've seen the last of us today.
Well, guys, you talked about it. He either had a lot of maneuverability with those tools, or he had too much grip, and obviously he had that maneuverability going.
Scott Dixon on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This will be his 8th start in an Indianapolis 500, and his best finish was in 2008. He won.
On the pole for the 92nd running of the Indianapolis 500, Scott Dixon.
They call him the Iceman, but today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, he is red hot, and he is the winner of the 92nd Indianapolis 500-mile race. You start first, you finish first. It could not get any better.
Scott Dixon, also the champion of the IZOD IndyCar Series in 2003 and in 2008. 29-year-old driver from Auckland, New Zealand.
And you'd be hard-pressed to not really kind of put him as the favorite here. He's got the momentum of winning at Kansas City. Sure, they got off to a tough start this year, but winning at Kansas City, what that team has done here at the Speedway, what Dixon's capable of doing. He's got Mike Hull on his headset, that experience, that confidence. Tough guy to bet against come race day.
They are not where they would like to be qualifying-wise, though. No, I think we've seen that throughout the practice. Early on, he was right up there, but they haven't really delivered, and you can see by the ruler, that's not quite what we would typically expect, but they've been searching for a bit of speed in this 4-lap trim. Already 2/10 back. So in effect, you're looking for a number here. He'll have this on his dash. They'll be looking for a number here to guarantee you get into the shootout, which would be 9. So in other words, your expectations actually shift as you start the run. You're almost, it's more on pit road than it is behind the cockpit. But it's essentially, okay, not quite enough speed for pole, but make sure I get a number in here that'll take me to the top 9 and get in the pole shootout.
Yeah, that's a great thing, is they knew that he wasn't going to be in P1, but we don't want to drop off so much that takes us out of being in the top 9 to transfer to the shootout,
which is completely new this year. Last year, you never even had that dynamic. You either make a run for the pole. Now we're talking P1 and the pole. It's hard to say he's on a pole run because you're not. That's later, and it's a new mindset.
And what's going to make the day really exciting as we get into about that 3:30 hour, that last half hour of track time to try and make the top 24. Yes, but then the top 9 is going to be a great format.
Yep. All right, the third lap was 225.793. He's averaging 225.798 as he sets the car into turn number 3 and onto the short chute at the north end of the racetrack. We'll be looking for the checkered flag this time by. Remember, every car gets 3 chances here between now and 4 o'clock. Here's the checkered. His first run is complete. The tracker says P4. The 4th lap, 225.785. 225.795 is the 4-lap average, and he is indeed P4 at the moment. Alex Tagliani occupies P1 here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on pole day 2010. Pole day at Indianapolis has Graham Rahal on the racetrack. He will become our 8th qualifier of the day. Graham Rahal driving, in my estimation, one of the prettiest cars on the track this year. Quick Trim is the sponsorship on that car, and I get to mention that 50 years ago on this day, May 22nd, it was a Sunday, and the 4th and final day of qualifying, a 2-tone purple car, a little lavender in there, driven by Jim Hurtubise, almost went 150 miles an hour around this place. A level that many people thought would never be achieved. Are you kidding me? Here's the first lap for Graham. It's 225.708, 225.744 on lap number 2.
Now, you talk about those speeds. If you didn't pull these cars back with regulations, you could do 250.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a case of now technology. Woo!
Close up to that wall.
That's why you don't want to run 250.
That's right.
They come too fast.
Only the 4th son to drive for his father in Indianapolis. Larry drove for A.J. Foyt, Marco for Michael, of course. Ed Carpenter, of course, driving for his stepdad, Tony George. Here is the 3rd lap about to be completed for Graham Rahal. White flag is waving. Lap number 3 comes in at 225.632. A little bit slower there on lap number 3.
But keep in mind, he just went after another wiggle.
Big wiggle there.
But he came just after Scott Dixon, who is a mainstay of a guy who knows how to get around Indy with one of the top teams, and Graham Rahal is just a tick behind him, looking to get himself in the pole shootout.
With relatively a brand new, ooh, he's up high through there, using all the track. But, you know, 2 days ago, he knew he had his stock car. Yesterday, with the speeds they found, he thought that they're going to be in the top 9. He said, if we're not in the top 9, I'm going to be disappointed. And he's posting the times.
25.383 on lap 4. The average is 225.617. He is P5. Lindy is with Elio Castroneves, currently P2.
Tagliani still P1 after your run, but that doesn't mean you had a bad one. You were still pretty close, but the question is, are you going to go back out or do you wait for the shootout?
Yeah, it's a very interesting format. So how bad is it, that first pit? Because that's what is more about it we're looking for. Or should we make the adjustment for the car to the top 9 and then we're going to go? Because now we know what they got. They know obviously what we got, so it's one of those things. And I don't know, I'm confused. Obviously, whatever they tell me to go, I'll go. And but certainly we're right there, and it's gonna be a great battle. Maybe this format is a great thing.
We'll just have to wait and see, Robbie.
Scott Dixon in the number 9 Target Chip Ganassi car in P9 right now, but how is the car feeling for you? Or P9, P4, excuse me.
P4, you had me worried there for a minute, but yeah, the car's been, not too bad. I think the Target team's done a great job. It seemed to be a pretty conservative first run there. The car had plenty of grip, and we had a little too much understeer in it, so I definitely think we've got some areas to improve and hopefully get a bunch more speed out of it, but it's going to be a tough day for us.
Hearing that, should you have maybe pushed it a little more knowing that?
We would have liked to. The balance that we had from this morning was pretty good, and I was pretty happy with that, and we put a little bit more front wing in, but obviously with the track getting a lot hotter, I think we just picked up a lot more understeer, but it felt consistent, felt pretty good. We'll just have to try and work on it some.
Thanks a lot, Scotty. Jackaroo sounds like he's a little too conservative this time.
Rahal reported to his crew that, as you can see in his gestures, car was very loose.
Yeah, and that body language shifting those shoulders, that means the rear of that car was moving around. Yeah. And that's the hands. He was chasing that car up the racetrack as it came off of turn 1. But there's a time at Indy to just stand on the gas and man up. He did it and delivered some fast times.
They called it back and said, way to cowboy up.
Yeah. Okay. I said man up. They said cowboy up. Same thing.
Another pretty car on the racetrack, the lime green machine of Townsend Bell, looking for his 4th start in a 500. His first lap is 224.554. We talked about how Alex Tagliani moved from the last row to 11th last year in the 500. Only Alex gained more positions in last year's race. Townsend Bell from San Francisco.
This is co-owned, of course, by Chip Ganassi, so he would have the information from Scott Dixon. When Scott said they were too conservative, they could quickly, if they had time, make a change on this to take advantage of the conditions.
Townsend's best speed has been 225.4, so he's about a mile an hour under that in his qualifying run. Second lap is 224.317.
But too, you got, once he starts laying down these laps, and okay, we see the first one, the second one being at 224.3. You got to say, okay, what's our game plan today? Where do we want to stand? Do we want to make that effort to be in the top 9, or just say, okay, we're just solidly going to be in this top 24? We don't know what that's going to take yet, but we're going to learn with every run that goes in terms of what do we have to do to make that top 24 barrier today. And I think Townsend's been pretty solid all month. I think this run will keep you there, but it's a lot cooler than we anticipated right now.
And humidity is dropping.
Last lap, the third lap rather, 224.306. Tracker says he is in 7th position. His best finish was last year here at the 500. He finished in 4th position. He started 12th in 2008.
He's got some great support talking to him in his helmet, and veteran engineer Andy Brown, Tim Neff, who's been with Sam Schmidt for a while. I mean, these guys have been around, so there's some depth behind what you're seeing in that Herbalife car with Townsend.
Checkered flag. Townsend Bell qualifies 4th lap, 224.276. We have 9 cars in the field. 224.363 is the 4-lap average for Townsend Bell. 9 cars in the field, but a lot of cars are lined up ready to qualify on pole day at Indianapolis. The Pagoda at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the world's greatest race course. And we have had 9 cars qualify at this point, with Alex Tagliani in P1. Elio is next, followed by Willpower, down to Anna Beatriz in ninth at 223.7. The car on the track right now is driven by Davey Hamilton, the oldest driver in the field at 47 years of age, looking for his 10th start here at the world's greatest race course. 224.954 on the first lap for Davey Hamilton. Lindy is with Graham Rahal.
And Graham, you said your heart was just beating out there. What were you feeling in that car?
Well, it was just a bit on the edgy side, a little loose right at the exit. I felt it on the first warm-up lap. I almost radioed in right at the exit of 1. It snapped into 2. It snapped on the warm-up, but that doesn't set you in a good mindset for the rest of the run. And so I was really cautious with my tools. I mean, the car was pretty quick. I think ultimately we should be able to get a little more speed out of it, but need to secure the rear first. But I think everybody, the whole quick trim team, worked really hard this week, and for us to be where we are, right on the tails of Penske and Ganassi, I think we got to be pretty happy.
Thank you, Graham. And Bob, that's pretty different than what he's been feeling all week. He says this was one of the fastest cars he's ever been in.
Yeah, and you can bet that he may try it again here before the 4 o'clock hour rolls around.
But as he summed up, a pretty good sense of accomplishment and keeping yourself realistic of what you got. He said, hey, we're right on the tail of the Penske cars. You know what? That says a lot.
That's that managing expectations. Bobby said, well, we'll see him. But, sometimes you got to think, discretion is the better part of valor. There's going to be a lot of decisions later today. Shall I run? Shall I not run? And that's what makes this so interesting.
Davey Hamilton driving for DeFerrin Dragon Racing this year. Teammates to Rafa Matos. His third lap was 224.717. And he is headed for the checkered flag.
And posting some really pretty stout numbers that I think are going to have you pretty safe in this top 24 as we roll through the afternoon.
Davey's best finish here was in 1998. He finished 4th, and his best start was 8th. Here's the checkered flag. 4th lap, 224.881. And that was his second fastest lap of the run. 224.852 is a 4-lap average, and Davey Hamilton is P6. Down to Jackaroot.
Guys, down here in the Isaac Performance Pit, one of the things that you're going to hear drivers talk about is they've taken the wing out. Now, normally these cars generated 0 degree of wing, 1,950 pounds of downforce. That ain't going to get it done when you're trying to qualify. So what you do is you go to what they call negative wing. Take a look at Paul Tracy's wing angle here. You see this is the leading edge? Well, this is the main plate for that rear wing. If you're normally, you're probably at 0 degree like this, right? Well, they go down to 3 degree, to 4 degree. 5 degrees of wing we're talking about. Takes all the downforce out of the car at 50 pounds a degree. Some mechanics say you keep taking it out, guys, until you see the whites of their driver's eyes.
That 50 pounds, Jack, of course, is drag. That's what you're trying to take off of the car. You're reducing, as you said, you're reducing lots and lots of downforce, but what you're trying to, downforce is good, but drag is bad. So you're trying to get rid of the drag and keep some downforce, and unfortunately, if you want to get rid of the drag, sometimes you'll take big risks.
You're right, and he said you got to see the whites of the driver's eyes, so they just say if you're taking off a degree, taking off a degree. Look at that on the top of Jay Howard's helmet. How about, please, 225.
Driving for Sarah Fisher Racing this year, Jay Howard on the track. This is another rookie here at the Speedway. Green flag comes out for Howard.
But talking about those whites of the eyes, it doesn't take much. As you keep tilting that back, say, okay, we're just going to take another degree off the back of this. As you said, it takes 50 pounds of downforce out. It's hopefully going to make you faster, but you're going to hold on a lot more as a driver and work a little bit harder in that cockpit.
Jay's best lap of the month, 225.207. Now, we do have 10 qualifiers at this point, so I guess you could use the term bump because we're looking for drivers who bump their way into the top 9 at this point. First lap for Jay Howard is complete, and the speed is 224.420.
So, Bob, why wouldn't we right now ask Jan, since he's got a calculator in his brain, and we've seen 9 cars out on the track. This is our 10th car. Yeah. What's it going to take, Jan, to be in that top 9 today?
Top
Yes, top
number.
9. Not that I'm putting you on the spot.
I don't know if you're going to say 24 or not.
No, just top 9.
I'm going to go with 225 and a half.
225 and a half.
To make top 9, and I'm going to say 223 and a half to make the top 24.
Okay. I'm 224.9 for the top 9.
Okay, and what about 24?
24, 223.3.
Okay, so you're 2 below me and 4 tenths ahead. So good. We wouldn't want to have too much agreement. That takes all the fun.
Yeah, that's Sarah Fisher looking on, car owner for Jay Howard. And I know Sarah, you know, they've been having the speed with Jay's car, but they've been struggling with Sarah to find that speed. I mean, scratching their heads. But he's been throwing down some speed.
223.994 on lap number 2. White flag will indicate one more lap for Jay Howard, who resides in West Palm Beach, Florida. Third lap is 223.696.
So that call out we saw on his helmet for that 225, please. Yeah. Need some more pleases there.
You know, he actually had a 225 going in turn 1 and 2, and then it started to scrub.
Oh, yeah.
His warm-up lap and his first 2 corners were actually, of course, it's a projection. He didn't finish it off, but it has potential.
Yeah, and when you say it's starting to scrub, that means the car's just sliding up the racetrack, whether it's the front or the rear, but any times it's not tracking and scrubbing, it's killing that speed.
Fourth lap for Jay Howard as the run is complete is 223.749. He is in the top 9 with a 4-lap average of 223.964. Stay with us for more action on pole day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the 2010 Indy 500. Jack Arute, Lindy Thaxton, Robbie Floyd, Robbie Buell, Jan Beekes, and me, Bob Jenkins, back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And we now move to the Dreyer and Rhine Bowl. Robbie Buell, chew your fingernails portion of qualifying, because the next 2 cars are from that stable. This is Tomas Scheckter.
And why we'll just get a little more animated up here is we're seeing the under tray of his car in those first couple laps was really dragging. As he's built some tire pressure and some temperature, it's not dragging as much. But the reason I say, oh, as I see that, is this morning he could, you know, he did about a 223.8 in the warm-up and just couldn't get any more. They went back and they said, you know what, we're going to put a different under tray on this car. So they put a different under tray on it. They never tested it. You roll it back out for qualifying when you got to throw down some laps. Yeah, and there he just dumped the throttle.
He knows it's not right. And I know why you were going. It's because if the under tray starts dragging and something goes amiss, next stop can be the safer barrier, and it's better off coming in and say, you know, boys, this thing is dragging and we need to make an adjustment.
Yeah. His lap was 222.275, so it is a wave off, but at charged attempt for Tomas Scheckter.
Yeah. So, well, nothing. You remember we said yesterday, you know, we didn't have any fire drills going on or any panics, but now it's beginning.
All right, earlier today in practice, Takuma Sato in the Lotus sponsored car backed it into the wall, the end of the safer barrier, thankfully.
And that is what can happen if something does go wrong, which is why Tomas Scheckter came into the pits. Big hit. That's gearbox oil that caught fire there, but he climbed out on his own, Robbie Floyd.
He climbed out, went to the medical center, would later go to Methodist Medical Center, where he would get both a CT scan as well as an MRI. He was complaining of a little bit of a pain up in his shoulder. So it looks like everything has been all right. He's going to make his way back here to Indy, but he has not been cleared to hit the track. So they're working feverishly on the number 5 Lotus car, and hopefully we can see Takuma Sato back here today and try and qualify. Lady Thaxton?
Davey Hamilton, you get out of your car P6, but you say that's decent. You were hoping for a little more.
Yeah, we were. You know, I was hoping to get in the 225 range, but you know, we've been good all month, and I should say week, and we're P6 right now. I was hoping to, you know, hit that 225. I thought we'd have a chance for the top 9, but you know, we were a little bit sliding around out there, but it's the way it goes. You know, we had some problems this morning, and the crew did a great job just to give me some laps this morning, much less try to trim it out. So we'll take what we got.
And Jack, that was actually what should have taken a 2-hour fix, and his guys did it in 30 minutes.
Well, that's what being and competing at Indy is supposed to be all about. Guys up in the booth, hold back your fellow cohort there as one of his cars driven by Mike Conway starts to go through his warm-up laps. Mike Conway having more than his share of problems mentally with this racetrack this season. So as Dreyer and Reinbold took a look at things, they hired Ari Leyendijk as a driver coach. As he comes down to take the green flag, the one thing that Ari has been drilling into Conway for the last 3 days is how to lean on the tires right there in the corners. Lean on them, but not abuse them. Based upon speeds this morning, it seems as if he's learned the lesson.
At a 225.8 in practice this morning. Mike Conway from Bromley, Kent, England.
And that art of leaning on the tires that Ari's been passing along to Mike. You know, you start on cold tires, sticker tires, and when you come to take the green flag at the speedway, you got to run it into turn 1 as hard as you can. And you don't quite know if you're totally up to pressure and up to temperature, and that's just the leap of faith.
Not a bad lap, Robbie. 224.684.
And the key and the challenge, as we've already hit on, is maintaining that as best you can now through the run and using what you got in the cockpit to do it.
Now, as an owner, you wouldn't have really had the expectation of Conway going for the top pole shootout 9.
No.
But you've got to be very comfortable if the managed expectations. This should be well safe, again, if he keeps it going for top 24.
And I think that's fair. I mean, remember a year ago, too, with Mike Conway, we say we got Ari Leyendijk here helping keeping his head in the game, learning. Last year, he struggled in practice and qualifying. He had a great race, but what he remembers from a year ago is this was a tough place. And he's one guy that can confirm that, you know what, when you crash, these walls hurt. And once you've had that experience, you maybe have a little different approach as you go from lap to lap and looking for speed, but it's still a second lap. Look at that, pretty solid.
Yeah.
We talked about repeatability. 24.68 to a 24.63, pretty solid.
Yeah, very consistent. Here's the third lap about to be completed from Mike Conway. It is 224.581, so just a little slower, but not much.
Very solid.
Mike started 27th in the 500 last year and finished 18th.
And Bob, we know you love your dad's root beer.
I do indeed. There's nothing that I enjoy quite like a dad's root beer with a little ice cream once in a while. I can go for that right now, as a matter of fact.
Boy, it's as sunny as it's looked on the track.
We haven't seen the sun, Robbie. I don't think we've seen the sun here since Wednesday, and it's coming out, and it's going to make the track a little slower probably. Here's the checkered flag from Mike. Fourth lap is 224.433, so the average is 224.583, and he is P7. To Robbie Floyd, who is with Tomas Scheckter.
And Robbie Buell, who's up in the booth. Your team principal was talking about the under tray. Were those your only problems today?
No, just a lot of push from when we went out. I don't know, the balance changed a massive amount. I went full front left weight, maximum soft on the front bar, and just a massive amount understeer. We're still lacking speed somewhere, but why I came in was just so much push. So, I mean, we had some parts that we just got in that we needed to change anyway that the other cars have got. So, you know, we're going to put those in, come back out and practice, and then requalify this car.
Although the weather won't be the bonus, it's going to get warmer later, guys, but he was not in the throttle. He had to back out, so he'll looking to be full throttle a little bit later, Bob.
That will be part of the drama played out later this afternoon here in Pole Day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Stay with us for more on Versus. Ryan Hunter-Reay on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Second lap, 223.741. So he's had both laps in the high 223s. We are at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. If you're just joining us, welcome to Pole Day. A new format this year will determine the top 24 starters between now and 4 o'clock. The track will close for a half hour between 4:30 and 6. 9 cars, the fastest 9 cars in the 24, will shoot it out for the pole position. And Ryan Hunter-Reay cannot be happy with the speed that he's getting.
Now you can tell that he's not happy just with the way that the car is coming off of the corners. Also, the track temperature has shot up. As soon as we saw all this clear sun, now it's jumped up to 89 degrees. It wasn't that long ago. It was down in the 60s and 70s. That makes a big difference on how the car grips in the corners.
Well, the forecast was for temperatures in the mid-80s today and possibly upper 80s tomorrow. And that is just much warmer than we have had all week long. I mean, we had days in which the high was 58.
And that's the key. We haven't seen it all week long. So when you say we're getting up to 89 degrees of track temperature, we haven't seen that. So these guys have no data this year to say, let's make this aero adjustment for that rise in track temperature.
Fourth lap for Ryan HunterReay is 223.641. 223.731 is the 4-lap average for Ryan HunterReay, who is at the moment the slowest in the field. Let's talk to Mike Conway. Lindy?
Mike, you say you think your run was all right. How'd the temperature affect you out there?
I think maybe it affected a little bit. Obviously, from this morning it was a little bit cooler, but I think I'm fairly happy with the run. It was consistent, and we stayed in the mid-22.4, so I think it's okay. I mean, we beat a fair few cars, and I mean, all we can hope is just that not many people go quicker than us, and we stay in the top 20 group, and that we don't have to go back out again. But, you know, it's that waiting game now, so we'll see.
So plan now, you just sit and wait and see?
Pretty much. We can maybe look at some things that we could try if we have to go out, obviously, but at the moment we're just going to wait and see if we have to.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
And I think a key thing he said there, it didn't affect him too much. I think that Mike Conway, Robbie, and your team was right on the tipping point. I think he got in just as the humidity was coming down, just as the temperature was coming up, and hit the end of the sweet spot.
Well, you know, when he was running, that's when I said to Bob, I said, that's the first time we've seen the sun. So you're right. I think that was just that break in that. And, you know, I hope Mike doesn't have to be looking to go back. I think he's kind of soft that a little bit. I think you should be pretty safe at a 224.5 average to be up in that top 24 break point.
Here's another rookie at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Mario Romancini, graduate of the Firestone Indy Light Series, driving for Conquest Racing. Had 2 Firestone Indy Lights wins last year at Milwaukee and at Homestead Miami Speedway. Green flag comes out. We have qualified 13 cars so far, so you were about right in 12 an hour, because this is the 14th car to qualify, and we have been qualifying just a little over 1 hour.
Talking with Eric Bachelard, the team owner for Mario Romancini, last night at the draw when we were doing our qualifying order. He felt pretty confident. He's running both 2 rookies and Roman Mancini and Baguette, and was pretty happy with the progress they had made.
Let's see what he gets on lap number 1. It is 223.318. There's Eric on the left.
Again, Eric, as an owner, also is a guy that raced here, so he has that insight. So when he sits down with his drivers, he can say, oh, no, this is the way you play the game at this racetrack. Don't let this get into your head. That's okay. We'll be fine tomorrow. If you need to do that.
I couldn't help but flash back to the soundbite we saw, only a little while back, where he said, we were 26 on the grid, we thought we were safe.
Right.
What can I say? We missed it. Yeah. This speed right here is going to get you right back in the same pickle jar again, because this is in the place you don't want to be.
And, you know, I think of Romancini. Do you remember him in the Indy Lights cars when they raced here, the Freedom 100? I remember him going by the 2 guys on the high side into turn 1. And that's the first time I'm like, I got to watch that guy. But that's, in my mind, when I think of Mario, that's my sight picture of him going high on 2 guys going into turn 1 at Indianapolis. I'm like, you got my respect.
In that race, he started 18th and finished 3rd at the Freedom 100 last year, which, by the way, we will have coverage of on Carb Day this coming Friday. The 3rd lap for Romancini is 223.412, exactly the same as lap 2. 2 and 3 are exactly alike.
So I picked 223.5. What was your number? 223.3. Yeah. So he's right where you and I
What I'd like to point out on his lap times, his slowest one was his first lap. And probably what that was is him just being a little tentative on driving into turn 1, because you don't know where your tire's at. So you got to be respectful of that. But that's what can happen, is that lap was his slowest of what he's turned so far. You know, we talk about the commitment it takes on all 4 laps around this place.
Checkered flag, last lap, 2:23.223, average 2:23.341, and he is the slowest qualifier of those that we have had so far. Lots of activity, however, remaining. Remember, we're in segment number 1, the shootout later. Dario Franchitti is yet to qualify for this year's Indianapolis 500-mile race.
Fast, loose, and as wild as it gets. Tonight, the stars come out and the gloves come off for the NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race on Speed. It's a winner-take-all dash for cash, and with $1 million on the line, it's checkers or wreckers. The NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race, tonight at 7 Eastern, Dish Channel 150.
Only on Speed.